echoing with Gul. Gul because it's my Instagram, and I suppose I have to be with me. It's well, the reason I wanted to do this conversation was because, as I said in the video earlier, the tide of economic uncertainty looms large over all of us, and there is a dire need to find ways to overcome the challenges that this new time, which is the time of COVID-19, throws at us. And there is one very, very inspirational man that I want to bring in conversation today with all of you. Atul Vir, he's a Texas-based entrepreneur, inventor, author, a motivational speaker, a man who's built his business empire from scratch twice over. So I'm going to quickly have Atul join us. There he is. Things are going to change very, very drastically in the time to come. And a lot of us already think it's rock bottom because we've all been in shutdown for the last a month and a half. Good evening, Atul. It's 11:30 in Texas.
Good evening, Gul. First of all, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Is the light
Thank you.
okay?
It's perfect. You're doing a very, very good job.
Well, it's a little bit later than 11:30. It's actually 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, yes. It's 10 and a half hours. I always get that wrong. I'm so sorry. And I'm more than grateful that you're joining us today, all the way from the US, which is traditionally Saat Samandar Par. But also the fact that it's 1:30. You know, I did a live session with a yoga instructor from LA, and it was 11:30 when we were at 12. And 1:30 just makes me feel so bad. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's been some time since I stayed awake so late, but it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for hosting me. And it's
Thank you, Atul. So for those of you who've just joined us, I'm in conversation with Atul Vir, who is an inventor, an entrepreneur, a hands-on CEO of an incredible company called Equator Appliances. He's going to tell us all about it. But the reason I've got him here is because here's a man who has risen to every challenge that life has thrown at him. Right from when he was working for a company in Nigeria and there was a coup, and overnight his company was rendered worthless and he found himself literally on the street. And then he went on to set up Equator Appliances, and there too he grew it massively with features in Popular Mechanics, on Oprah's show, and then suddenly all came crashing down and he built it up all over again. So he personifies somebody who rises like a phoenix every time a challenge is thrown at him. So Atul, tell us a little bit about the insane challenges that life has thrown at you and how you come up on top.
Well, there are so many of them. First of all, I don't come from a business family. I come from a service family. And
Armed forces.
Armed forces. My father was a naval officer. And of course, I went to Lawrence School, Lovedale, like you, where we had order and structure drilled into us, wake up at a particular time and go to sleep at a particular time. And so when the time came to become an entrepreneur, I didn't realize that there would be so many changes that we would have to face, you know, and you would have to change your mind from morning to night and so on. Needless to say, there were many failures and many things that happened. I started counting the failures and I reached 50 or 60 or 70. And finally I said, you know, 101 is a great number in our Indian culture. When I reach 101 failures or 101 lessons, I'm going to write a book. So that answers a little bit all the different challenges and what I learned, but there's too many of them, and some of them quite catastrophic, but I've had some good times too.
And yet, you don't think that this is catastrophic. You don't think that what COVID-19 has done to the world, how it's changed the course of history in terms of what will follow, how it's completely changed the tide of the way business was done. I think it's a very, very challenging time, and yet from challenging time is when great innovation finds its way out. In fact, it was a 2008 crisis that led to the birth of companies like WhatsApp, Airbnb, Uber, and brought out a very, very different side of entrepreneurship that we hadn't seen until then. So do you see COVID-19 heralded slowdown in the economy as something that's going to be that's going to be a positive? And is this going to be a time of opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be a time of opportunity for those who can find the opportunity. But for companies, and that is particularly for new companies who are being born and the entrepreneurs who are starting off now. But it's a different challenge for people who are already in business, who have to manage their companies with the uncertainty. If you already are in business and you have customers, you have employees, you have an existing set of challenges, and you have to adapt your company to be able to deal with those. So there are two different parameters we are talking about. And so on one side, you're going to have new technology and new opportunities, but the main challenge is for all of us who are already here. And my company is here for, I've just started my 30th year in business.
13th year in business.
30.
30.
30.
Yeah, that 13 sounded very little. 30. Yes. 30th.
30th year. So we've survived. And in fact, we are considered one of the survivors. And so, yeah, so we're adapting to and trying to find new opportunities, but at the same time, we have to find ways to deal with the current situation with existing products, existing customers, and the limitations.
You know, my husband and I read your book. My husband cover to cover, and I sort of in the middle, and then lockdown happened, and I was suddenly thrust with all this work. But it's such an incredible story. I want you to quickly, very, very quickly take us into the times that you found yourself absolutely at rock bottom, and how you still built your massive empire up again.
Well, being an entrepreneur means inherently you take a risk, and most people don't realize that. And particularly if you leave your home country, you don't have the support system of family and the social system. I'm in America, where all you have is your nuclear family, and then you have your extended networks and professional networks and so on. So when things go wrong, and they can go catastrophically wrong, because you're dealing with, especially with my company, we do business with China and Europe and Canada, about 4 or 5 different countries, and exchange fluctuations and so on. And so when things happen and you're caught off guard, then things can go very bad. The lowest point can, of course, come and you almost give up. And frankly speaking, to go into the statistics, 90% of businesses do fail. 90% of entrepreneurs do fail.
Absolutely.
Few people get a second chance. So the question really came that, how do you motivate yourself to come out when you do have a problem? And you
and that is really the key, the challenge.
That's right. And how do you get out of that funk? And it can last for a long time. I mean, people go into depression, and people, and it's the absolute helplessness of the situation. You have legal challenges and all sorts of things. It's not just you close your door and say, how do I earn a living? It's much more complex than that. So you have to bring yourself out, and at the end of the day, you have to redeem yourself. And there's only one redemption, and that is to build it back and make a success. And that is the ultimate redemption.
Atul, a lot of folks are saying that, they can't wait for things to go back to normal. And every time I have a conversation like that, my take is the old normal is gone, and it's gone forever. Because I think what this period of lockdown has done for consumers as a whole is made them rethink a lot of their consumption choices. Now, as an entrepreneur, and I mean, I'm putting the consumer hat on for 1 second here, and you're obviously an entrepreneur. All consumers are now going to fundamentally rethink the way they consume, because they have found that they've been able to do without so much. And that's going to, at some level, alter their behavior, their propensity to consume, 1. And 2, because of the uncertainty that now lies in the realm of the global economy, in the realm of health, I think their overall behavior economically is going to change. And in light of that, how does one adapt? In fact, I have a few questions already coming up for you, and I'm going to just give them to you together so you can sort of address them. So, Murku Amit asks, Atul, did you practice the law of attraction too? Somebody says, Hope Catapult says, changing culture is also key. And then I'm Grot asks, Groot, is opening a restaurant after lockdown a good idea? So anyway, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, is the old normal ever coming back? Or are we getting ready for a new normal, which will be
no computers?
Right.
We have evolved to a new normal, where we are on Instagram today across countries, talking live to hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of your followers. So this is a new normal. There will be again a new normal coming up. It is up to us, leaders of every organization, to try and imagine what we are doing for those of us who are running organizations and who are responsible. I've got a small, let's say, mid-sized organization where I'm responsible for 1,000 families or so. I have to lead my company and make decisions that will take it to after this, after this crisis, what's going to happen, and lead it. So what we do is very, very important. There is going to be a new normal. What are the products we are going to sell? How are we going to do it? These decisions, believe it or not, we already started making sometime in February, where we said, okay, we are going to calculate, because our supply chain started in Europe, some in Spain, some in Italy, and some in China. All these countries have had problems with the manufacturing. We started calculating what happens if our supply chain is cut down by 50%. We have less products. How do we take care of our customers? We started anticipating that we are going to move our products around from different distribution centers in the US, which is, from populated to unpopulated. So the logic being the populated centers would be more at risk. We also made one more key. We canceled all new initiatives. Let's say sales initiatives. We're only going to take care of existing customers, because when there's a crisis, we have a lot of new opportunities. Customers say, oh, you've been calling us for a couple of years. We want your products. And we say, no, we're going to take care of existing customers. You sustained us for so many years. We're going to take care of you, and not fly-by-night people who just want to come and then ditch us once the supply chains are back in normal. The third most important thing is we went to our staff and we said, listen, we've got tough times ahead. We're going to cut down your hours by 20 to 30%. And because of anticipation, and everybody accepted that. Sometime later, I heard that Germany they actually adopted the similar strategy. And that's how very few people were laid off in Germany, telling everybody to cut down their hours. So I think those are the steps.
So cutting down the hours?
Cutting down the hours, yes.
So, but that would also necessitate a pay cut.
It also, yes, but people can do with a 20 or 30% pay cut. It is necessary to save the company, to sustain it. So our company is still, even now, 80% operational, even though our revenues have gone down, and we are able to sustain the workforce for a longer period of time, even though we don't know the future.
Sure. So even though economic uncertainty looms, the intention of every entrepreneur with their heart in the right place would be to try and retain the workforce. And when there is I think from the workforce's point of view, when there is a choice between a layoff and a salary cut, I think people would definitely pick a salary cut.
Definitely, yes. So we have not laid off anyone. You've heard of 20 million people being laid off in the US, but we haven't laid off a single person.
That's incredible. That's really quite incredible. I want to ask another question, which has been at the back of my head, and now I can finally ask somebody that. Will this also see pure capitalism come to the fore again, where people will take decisions that they couldn't take earlier because of propriety, because of pressure, and they will take certain decisions now using COVID-19 as a shield under which to be able to say, okay, you know what, we need to do this. So whether it's layoffs, again, I'm going right back to layoffs, because India is also going to see a significant amount of salary cuts, and it's inevitable. A lot of companies have already announced pay cuts, and the rest will follow suit. In fact, there's also some talk of government cutting salaries as well for a limited period. But do you also see this being used as an opportunity by companies to really take those harsh, pure capitalistic decisions, which they couldn't take earlier because it would look bad?
Well, I think it's going to be a mixed bag. There are some companies who are going to definitely take advantage of them, but they're going to lose their resources, and those companies will already be in trouble. I know in the US, many companies, we know the tourism industry is in trouble. The airlines are in trouble.
Yeah.
Many big retailers are in trouble. One of the most prestigious chains today, Neiman Marcus, has declared bankruptcy.
Oh, Neiman Marcus? I had no idea. Okay.
Yes, just today. So across the board, so whether one is it is a reorganization strategy, or whether it is a planned, or they're being forced to, we are seeing across the board changes happening, and I think they're real problem. Companies aren't able to. Needless to say, people aren't shopping. People don't know if they're going to have jobs tomorrow. People don't have consumer confidence to go and buy products. So who is buying anything? And even then, you don't want to go out. So you're using Amazon and in India, Flipkart and so on. When they open up, that is going to be the future. And this is going to be the new normal. People are going to get used to it. The longer this carries on, people are going to stay at home and get used to staying at home. You have employers who are going to get used to managing their employees on Zoom and other Microsoft Teams and so on, and say, well, why do we need to rent these offices? Let everybody stay at home, just come once a week or once a month and have, So these are all the changes that are going to happen. Across the board, we can expect, and so we try to anticipate these changes. I don't think we should say that it's not going to happen, or we should hope it doesn't happen. They're going to happen. We have to anticipate them, and the successful companies can anticipate them and successfully come out of it.
I think anticipation is indeed the key, as you pointed out, Atul, and a lot of companies are already seeing that they could get by within the lockdown period with Zoom and Microsoft Teams and get work going, and they're also going to reevaluate their overall outgoings in terms of brick and mortar sort of offices and rentals. And also, I think a very interesting trend that is staring us in our face and is writing on the wall is that online shopping is going to be really coming out on top, and brick and mortar stores are on the way out. Is that what you see happening in the time to come?
Well, I think it's certainly going to gain prominence. So I think already you had online stores taking 20 to 25% of business globally, and that's going to dramatically increase. Maybe it will become 50 or 60%, even more. There are still a lot of people who do like to go to stores and kick the tires and see what they're buying. So I think from 25% it will become 50 or 60%. So this can actually be said, this is a force of creative destruction in some way.
Force of creative destruction.
This is a force of creative. So COVID-19 is going to be a force of creative destruction, where the number of retail stores may come down to 50% of what it is.
And what's going to open up in those places? All the real estate that's going to be vacant, what's going to open up there? What do you see people doing? So when a physical store is gone, the real estate is still there. So firstly, do you see rentals coming down globally? Because retail space will be available as people switch their businesses to online offices. Office rentals will hopefully come down as well. Is that something you see happening as a trend?
It will happen, yes. And I don't think it's good to be a landlord right now, because I think you can see the future where there's going to be a lot of office rental spaces. I think that's going to happen. What's going to happen? I don't know. I think Amazon is going to fill a lot of those spaces. They're going to need. So it's not like it's going to be eliminated, because you have certain industries who need it, but I don't think it can take over all that.
Right. There's a question for you from a fellow Laurentian. Hi, Ram. Gul, a question for Atul. If you were to say it in the fewest words possible, yes, Atul is a man of few words. We've seen that. Gul, a question for you. If you were to say in the fewest words possible, one lesson that you've learned until now, Atul. This is from Ram, who is from Coimbatore and runs flour mills there, and a very, very successful entrepreneur. Maybe we should hear what his take on COVID has been, because I suppose food doesn't stop getting consumed. But over to you.
Well, I think the biggest thing that I learned is that you have to expect change, and change can happen anytime. And we would always, in the old days, which doesn't seem like many years ago, change happened much more slowly. Now change can happen in a day, in an instant. That's
instantly.
The thing. And you have to expect it. You just don't know when it's going to happen, and that takes time, because intuitively we as human beings don't like to say we are wrong, or we made a mistake, or why did you say something. And sometimes it happens in my own company. I say something to my team, and we make a decision, and it's being rolled out, and I read something on the news, or I get some news snippet somewhere, and next day I go back to my team and I said, whatever I told you yesterday, that needs to change. Freeze it. And they say, what's happening?
And accept that you're wrong. Accept that you have to adapt.
Well, it's not right or wrong. New information came in and we have to change it. And they think I'm nuts. So that's what really really happened.
Okay, Ram is asking lots of questions. What made your people stay with you despite a 20-30% pay cut? I'm going to say something here before I give it to Atul here. Ram, I already know lots of folks who work with very big companies who've already accepted pay cuts. I don't think, to be honest, in an environment where jobs are going to be few that people have firstly options. I mean, of course, I'm not giving Atul's answer, but this is an answer that I've got from a lot of folks who've taken pay cuts. I know folks in Dubai who have taken a 50% pay cut in senior management. And when I ask them what makes you stay, the answer is, I have nowhere else to go. One. And two, as Atul said earlier on, sometimes it's between a layoff and a pay cut. But that's my reasoning. I've been doing some research, talking to people about how companies are dealing with pay cuts. I'm a small entrepreneur as well. I run a production company. We've been trying to figure out how we can work with pay cuts. And given the fact that revenues are coming in slow, we've had to unfortunately take a step towards pay cuts. But pay cuts is something you have to do to retain people. Otherwise, retain rather business, retain the structure of the company. Otherwise, the company can pay salaries, or it can then shut down after 3 months. So that's my take, Ram, as an entrepreneur. I think you have to take your team on board and tell them that, listen, this is for the betterment of the company, so we survive this. The other alternative is a layoff, and I don't think layoffs are anybody's cup of tea. Over to you, Atul.
Well, I just want to clarify one thing. I think there are many resources that a company needs and an entrepreneur looks at. And I think a landlord believes he's the most important person. Your banker believes he's the most important resource. Your employees believe they're the most important resource. And it goes on and on. In my company and the way our history has developed, I came to realize that the most important resource for our company is our customer. So the customer comes first, and everything that we do is for the customer. It's not the landlord or the banker or the employee. We all work for the customer. So in the starting example that I gave, if your customers are coming, if your revenue is coming down by 50% and your sales are coming down, what do? We are all resources. We depend on the customer. So I'm sort of flipping the logic. Everybody says, we're number one. My landlord says, what about my rent? My banker says, what about my loan? I say, wait a minute. So I think we just need to understand, and this is the core philosophy that I've learned through multiple lessons. We all work for the customer, and if there's no customer, there's no business. Everybody can say we want 100% salary, but if there's no customer, it's over.
Sure, I think that's very well pointed out, because a lot of people have asked, and I guess these are either employees who are facing an imminent pay cut or have already been given one. I'm going to quickly put that out. Mathur Somen says a very interesting thing. The pay cut has a cascading effect. You cut pay and people refrain themselves in buying, and that comes back to companies. I'm going to address pay cut again. There's another question on pay cut. Do you see shift in strategy happening in terms of focus on building resilience? I think Atul already addressed that. Don't you think consumer behavior will change post-lockdown? What should be the business strategy to quickly adapt and achieve desired results? I think Atul already addressed that. You've got to put your customer at the center of your universe and find ways to make them happier, find ways to make them be loyal to you. And I think that would be the best strategy for any business, because yes, consumer behavior is going to get curbed because there are salary cuts across the board. My husband got a mail on the 1st of April informing us of his pay cut. So I think that is something that is part of the law of economics. Gul, it's sad that you come to an option, pay cut or lose job. Unfortunately, there is no other option. As Atul said, if there is no customer, there is no, I mean, all of us are in the customer facing business. So if there's no customer, there's no company. So would you like to take these questions? Why? Okay, and again, why do companies cut salaries when they're gaining profits while working? The top management pockets the profits. The company should dip into the profits and pay salary. Well, as far as Indian companies are concerned, every press release of a pay cut starts with the top management. So ethically, I think there has been a uniformity. In fact, the top management has taken a greater percentage of pay cuts. I don't know your name because it's X10ND. So, I mean, as far as the Indian papers report, the top management has taken bigger pay cuts than sort of mid and low management. Over to you, Atul.
Well, I would say I completely agree with this sentiment, particularly in publicly held companies. I think the top management is paid way too much, and there are many hundreds of times over the normal average worker.
Especially in the US. Especially in the US.
I'm not in that category. I'm just an entrepreneur. We don't have a publicly held company. I get a salary from my company, just like all the other employees. That they are at the end of every month, I get a paycheck. So, of course, it's a little bit more than the average manager. So, of course, I'm the CEO, but that's the thing. I also got a pay cut. But I'm saying I completely agree with that sentiment. I think publicly held companies should be operating on a better balance, and maybe this is a good time to start. I think shareholders should demand change.
Demand changes, salary structure, especially in the US. In fact, the big boys, the listed companies have huge bonuses and huge profits. But as we've seen in the US specifically, bailouts often begin to help only the big companies. And as we're seeing in India as well, all the relief that's been announced has been for big companies. For the SME and the MSME sector, there's hardly been any relief. In fact, today is the day of GST payment, and there is complete lack of clarity. Some folks are saying you don't have to pay it, you have to pay it on the 30th of June. Others have said that yes, you have to pay on 30th of June, but your interest will still pile up. So in our case, we have the clarity as far as policy framework is concerned has been missing. But I've always seen, at least that's what movies show us, Atul, that in the US, one finds that the government always holds the hand of big business because too big to fail. So do you have something to say about that?
Well, generally speaking, it's true. I think even in this case, we've had a bailout over here. They had $350 billion that was announced just a couple of weeks ago. And that is supposed to be for small business, and that went in less than 1 week. It was finished, and now the analysis is coming about who did those funds go to, and they're saying it's all the big business, not big businesses, but many businesses they're split into different divisions, and each division has got so much. So yeah, those are the businesses that have got the relations with the bank, and frankly speaking, even the bankers, they find it easier to process a $1 million loan as opposed to process a $50,000 loan, because
Sure.
it's the same commission in the same amount of time. And so
Yeah.
I'm not really sure anybody's for the small guy. Everybody's for the big guy, and everybody's worried about making their own money, including the bankers. And the whole system is like that.
There's a very good question from Aradhana Ori. And she says, I want to know Atul's view on countries banning Chinese investments in likely vulnerable companies in a wake to avoid hostile takeovers in the future. Very, very good question.
It's a very good question, yes. I think there is going to be a lot of change now. I do a lot of business over there, and I've been to China 50 times. And I
50?
50.
Have you been to Wuhan?
Not been to Wuhan, but very close by. 200.
Okay.
We had one of our facilities about 200 kilometers from there, and so we've got 7 or 8 different ventures going on in China, and I'm very familiar with the situation there. I don't think it's as simple as it made out to be. I think the people are different to the government, and that happens in most places. There is a certain amount of opportunism that is going on, and I think countries will be right to limit the exposure, because China cracked down on the epidemic over there in Wuhan, and they were able to manage it. Whether one takes the actual number of casualties at word or not, that's a separate issue. But they have managed. In fact, I'm in touch with my office. We have an office in China, and I'm in touch with them every day. And so we know the situation. And so I think India's done very well in how it's curbing the situation there. So congratulations. I think that's a little bit different for us in the US, where it's continuing and the economy is taking more precedence. So, but you do hear reports of Chinese companies taking advantage, and I think there should be steps to limit that.
Interesting. In fact, Phenomenon 99 also says most of Indian companies have the investments from China. That's true, and at the rate we're going, yes, there's going to be a potential. And there won't be a hostile takeover. It'll just be a takeover. I mean, I don't see it being hostile as far as a lot of Indian big companies are concerned. Akhil Mathur, another fellow Laurentian, asks, the question for you is, how do you curb the gap in operational costs and future necessary investments post-COVID?
Well, I think you have to stop everything and say everything stopped. You have to reduce your operational cost. You have to reduce your outreach marketing, as we did. Just take care of your existing customers. You have to reevaluate everything. You have to think the future investments that you did before, which were for a particular trajectory of products, are those even valid? Should your company be shifting gears? I know in our company, where we make appliances, washing machines, refrigerators, range hoods, and household appliances, we have made a new initiative. We're getting into health appliances because that will
Health
be health
appliances.
appliances, which is to disinfect rooms for ozone and have oxygen machines and so on. People are now going to be concerned about their health. Everybody's now concerned about their health.
Yeah.
Even after COVID, people will be generally more aware. So that's a new division we are setting up for health appliances, health and wellness.
So what kind of appliances are we talking? I'm just curious to understand.
Well, so we have different initiatives. First of all, in our existing products, in our, let's say washing machines, we've got new features coming out, which is sanitize function, where the clothes can be put in and sanitize your clothes. That's going to be something new. Everybody go out, you go to the supermarket, you come back, you don't know if your clothes have been infected. You can sanitize your clothes. We have
That's
got
incredible. That's very interesting.
We have an allergen function where it can you can kill the dust mites in there that's responsible for asthma and so on.
Yes. Allergies. I suffer
Yeah.
from allergies all the time.
Yes. Then we have something coming out, particularly for India. We're marketing our products starting in the next few months. We have a new bed bug cycle. I know, traveling in second class, third class trains and so on, those bed bug issues, it was terrible. And I know we have a Katmal cycle coming out.
We had them in school as well.
So we have a Katmal cycle coming out. So that is one of my proudest achievements. How do you put clothes into a washing machine and kill the bed bugs in there? That is kind of innovation we are coming out. Going to the health and wellness, we're coming up with a ozone machine that you can put it. This is particularly for offices and so on. You keep it in an office, and the ozone will come out and it will kill the bacteria, virus, mold, and all the other things over there, and shut down. And the next piece of innovation is that you'll have oxygen coming out for the next 1 hour. And so when you have employees coming into an office the next morning, it will be the office has been disinfected and you have clean air over there, and and it's a clean environment to work. Those offices that are still left and operational and not working from home. So that's the kind of thing we're working on. So that's how we are planning to do that. Just have new kind of initiatives. So I would say, look at those fixed investments. Nothing is set. See whether those assumptions that you made a few months ago, are they still valid in the new world that we are going into? Because new opportunities are being created for the new reality we live in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know it's now 2 a.m. in Texas, so I'm going to let you go, Atul, but I'm going to take 2 quick questions. We have a lot of questions for you. Most of the startups, I mean, this has been taken before, but I think it has been asked again, so I'm going to put it here. Most of the startups are facing challenges and makes them vulnerable to current situation. What should be the immediate approach for survival? While you answer that, I'm going to quickly scroll and see if I've missed another question.
Well, I'll say this is a very good question. Why talk about startup? Talk about yourself. And for any person, there are 3 things you should look at.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure,
The supplementary question. Any advice for youngsters who are about to set their foot in the industry? Which sector to focus on? Which industry is expected to boom? Yes, very good question, because after a crisis, the sector leaders always change in terms of which sector will do better. So both of these questions, I think, are clubbed together. Bhuvna Prabhu.
Yeah. So I'll answer that. I think the first thing you have to take care of is yourself. Make sure you take care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually. Make sure you're strong and you stay alive and come out of this. Nothing happens otherwise. Second thing is take care of your family. Make sure you take care of them, whether you're responsible for them or not. The third thing is take care of your means of sustenance. If you own a business, make sure you take care of the business. The business. I didn't say employees. I didn't say landlord. I said you take care of the business, the core business, the cash flow. If you work for a company, make sure that you show your bosses and your employers that you're a good employee, and make sure you protect that. Don't take risks and do unnecessary things to jeopardize your own position. Talking about new business, it seems pretty obvious that I think that health and wellness is going to be a big thing. People are worried about their health, about this. I think you're looking at increased communication like Zoom and Microsoft, and there are so many new startups starting in that space. I'm not in that space, so I'm not able to clearly visualize, but I think that anything that makes life easier for employers and for employees and communication, that's going to be the future, because that's the world we live in. We in our own appliance field, we are having connectivity in our appliances, so you can operate them from anywhere and control them. All sorts
Is
of
it part
bells
of
and whistles.
IoT? I mean, does it involve IoT?
It does involve IoT, and I'll give you an example where washing machines are going, just as an example. So, for
Right.
example, washing machines, you throw in your clothes, the washing machine will bring in the right amount of water. It will switch over to the dry cycle, dry for the right amount of time. It will call you on your cell phone and say, I'm done, come pick me up, I'm ready. Why go far? You put your soap in once a month. It will keep
Ah.
it will keep drawing the right amount of soap as your laundry is being done. After a month, it will finish. The machine will call us and say, I need some soap. We will ship out the soap. Maybe, Gul, you won't even know about it. And
Wow.
then it will arrive at your door. All you have to do is pour it in. We've got your credit card on file and we've already shipped it to you. So that is where we are going in this kind of thing, that nobody has time to deal with unnecessary things. And we're
Absolutely.
solving problems and innovating, understanding customer problems, in our own fields and realm.
Okay, this is your cousin Rajiv Hiranandani from Bombay. Hi, Rajiv. Thank you for taking time to join us. Do you think more companies should adopt digital technologies due to work from home scenario rather than investing in capex investments at plants?
I think it depends on the situation. Thanks, Rajiv. Thanks for calling in. I'm glad he could get in. I think both will be necessary. Plants, of course, are necessary. Plants produce things, and you need production to take place. So you'll have efficiencies across the board taking place. I mean, you'll have remote monitoring and lots of stuff going on in all fields. We cannot say one at the expense of the other. Products have to be produced. They'll be produced more efficiently. They'll be distributed. They'll be just in time. There'll be companies like Amazon. There'll be delivery systems and all sorts of things going on across the board. And of course, in technology also.
Thank you for these insights watching from Mauritius. Thank you, Priya. Well, quite insightful. Thank you, Gul and Atul. Well, I'm glad you liked it. This has been the most useful Insta Live session since COVID-19 crisis. Thank you. I appreciate that, Jok Singh. Jok Singh is a stand-up comedian whose business is continuing to thrive because he does stand-up and keeps posting stuff. Gul, please pin this live in your highlights. Question for Atul and Gul. How do you see the entertainment industry coping with this? So my answer to this is, as people are going to begin to stay in, I think theaters are going to take a big hit. Live, anything that requires people to get together is going to take a big hit. But content produced and consumed, any content that can be consumed in the confines of your house is going to be king. So Jok saying you're going to be on top because you make incredible content on your Instagram and otherwise. And I think you should make, I would say focus more and more on creating incredible content which you can put on your social media. And there's another question here that was about the travel industry. As my husband belongs to the travel industry, and I can tell you from what the forecast that their company has shared with them, that they can expect normalcy to return in about 8 to 10 months, because it's going to take that much time for people to begin to travel, because people have realized that they can work without needing to travel. I'm talking about work-related travel. This doesn't, of course, refer to leisure travel, because leisure travel is going to take a while to recover. But work-related travel, increasingly companies are going to realize that their overheads, and anyway they're in cost-cutting mode, their overheads relating to travel will be cut back, because they've realized that they can continue to work using Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and lots of other technological innovations. And I think travel from a work point of view will only be when absolutely necessary. Even board meetings are happening via video conference, and our Companies Act allows for it. Okay, over to you. What do you think about the entertainment industry, Atul?
Well, I think it's exactly what you said. I mean, everything is going to change. I don't know if people can put a time limit on it. I mean, we started off in January, people were saying February, March, and now people are talking about 6 months, and now people are saying, well, we're going to close, we're going to solve it in the next 90 days, and we're going to have something coming in the fall or winter season. Now people are saying it's going to come back every season. So yeah. I would say that people don't really know. And in a situation like this, when people don't really know, which is the situation that entrepreneurs actually live in, we live in this gray zone.
Yeah, always.
You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know which customers are going to buy your product tomorrow. I go into office every morning, I have no idea what's going to happen. So in a situation like this, I don't think anybody should take into those strict guidelines. Although I know we like authority and people to tell us these things and we want comfort from that, but I don't think we can really rely on it. I really think that people should uh, take more precautions and a more conservative attitude and a more uh, self-survival kind of thing. Watch out for yourself. Take precautions. That would be my approach to it. And because things, if it gets better, great. But if it gets worse, you're prepared for it. Be safe. You know.
Well, I think this has been a fantastic session. I'm going to go let you sleep now. It's past 2 a.m. and I have to go and organize lunch for my son. I'd like to thank you all for joining me. This was a very, very informative discussion. Atul and I'd like to have it again sometime in the future when you're ready to launch Equator Appliances in India. I'm going to be the first buyer of your washing machine that has sanitizer in it, and the one that does everything on its own, so it reduces my workload, and the dishwasher, the countertop dishwasher, which I'd ordered from here but hasn't turned up because of lockdown. I think what I'd like to summarize a couple points made by Atul. One is that we have to evolve and adapt because the normal that we were used to is gone away for now, and we have to be ready for a new normal. And companies will have to find ways to adapt and evolve. And for those of you who are employees, I think Atul said something very, very, very important. Show that you're a good employee. Don't do anything that will risk your position, because you don't want to be pushing the capitalistic instincts of your bosses and your companies by not showing adequate value worth. I think it's really, really important to pull your weight and add to the contribute to your organization. And absolutely always be ready for change. There's an incredible book called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's all about the fact that you have to adapt constantly. Change can come instantly. So I'm going to put a link of how you can buy this book on my Instagram stories. And Jok Singh, thank you for letting me know I can add this to my highlights and keep this session longer than 24 hours. That's been a learning for me. Atul, I cannot thank you enough. This has been so insightful. I've taken so many lessons from this personally, and I do hope those of you who tuned in were really gained from this. But we have to prepare for a new future. We have to adapt. We have to evolve. And we have to always expect the unexpected, because the only thing constant is change. And COVID-19 has reminded us of that. Thank you so much, Atul. Thank you, everyone that tuned in. Atul, have a good night. Thank you again. I'm really grateful that you could take out time for me on a Sunday night. Atul is in Texas and it's past 2 a.m. and I'm really, really grateful. My regards to your family. And thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you to all your listeners. Bye-bye then.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So guys, that was Atul Vir. This has been a pretty informative session for me. I think some very important points made. A lot of the stuff that we knew was probably somewhere in the back of our heads, but Atul put them right up in front. I'd like to thank all of you who asked your questions. Shankar, thank you so much. Bhavna, service industry, I'm sorry we couldn't take that question. I think the service industry will limp back. I think a lot of industries will limp back in the next 6 to 7 months, but it will take that much time. Textile industry, I'm guessing, will in any way will also take a bit of a hit, but it will also come back soon. Most of MSMEs are manual in case of financial payments. It's such a case scenario to make sure to assure vendor payments as they are stuck because of lack of online system. Very true, with a very valid point. What do I think about the Zoom data breach? We'll have to take it again as true buff. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate those of you who joined in. Travel and hospitality industry is the first one to suffer and the last one to recover. Yes, Pranay, that's been proved time and again by SARS and by every crisis that hits the market. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Best Insta Live show I've seen. Wow, thank you. I appreciate that very much. I will be back. It's been seen that that hiring in the USA has impacted a lot, due to which many talented graduate students are facing issues finding right job for themselves. What's your opinion? Well, I think this is going to be a tight market. One has to find one's ways to adapt and to learn additional skills so that you become a very, very valuable employee. Rajiv, Atul has left us. We're done with the session, I'm afraid, and we will have to take this later. But I do hope that I'm able to bring Atul back for a session. Thank you so much. Thanks, Navneet, for watching. Thank you. Okay, guys, thank you so much. This is me saying bye. I need to go and give Nihal some lunch. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you.